Question, are there government people here on a certain level? That's good. Only one? Yeah, I thought it was Saturday, so I thought last night because important and nature conservation related people, nature organizations. Okay, good. You will see later why. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna give, just like last year, a bit of an update on our story shortly, and then secondly, we're gonna talk about the European bamboo sector industry. And my goal actually is not to preach the holy word here, but just to open a discussion, touch some topics, and we'll see where we get. Like I said, first a bit of an overview, then we're going to look where is Europe now in the bamboo world, where are we? And then what are some arguments why it really makes sense to grow bamboo in Europe and build an industry. Challenges, of course. And then the last part is a bit of a call to action, but we see what when we do. So what we are actually do originally, we are bamboo growers, cultivators, like a lot of you. We started with buying a plot in Portugal, 125 hectares a few years ago, and we started very enthusiastically planting bamboo. But at a certain moment you think, okay, now we have planted bamboo, we have to wait. And what now? You have to build a chain. If nobody did it before you, you have to build it. So growing bamboo, we process the bamboo primarily, and then you go to the market. And an important point, certainly for the whole world, actually, but certainly in Europe, is the carbon removal part, because that helps us funding the whole chain. Because funding, that's something everybody feels, everybody is questioning. How are we going to finance this whole bamboo industry? So to give an overview where we are, that's our 6-year-old bamboo field in Portugal, on which Mona yesterday gave the presentation on the biodiversity. Then we have, that's the challenge, an almost desertificated area that we started working on a few years ago. And you see where it's getting. All the small dots are 2-year, 3-year-old bamboo plants. So step by step, we are regreening that area, securing water in the soil, and all the things that you know bamboo does. So how are we gonna make sure that for the European bamboo sector that we have bamboo enough? We are planting everything that we can, but that will be not enough. In our opinion, if we make a quick estimate, I think if we have 100,000 hectares of bamboo in Europe, it's sold in a minute. It's still not enough. So what we did is building a system on our experience to involve other farmers in Europe to plant bamboo. And more we are heading in our feeling to a cooperative model because it's so broad. If you think about harvesting, it's wiser to share harvesting machines instead of buying a machine for your own 10 or 20 hectares. So what we are doing, we are able to produce the plants. That's one of our strong points with our eminence Greece on the back, young plants with 45 years experience in propagation. There we are in the best seat. At this moment, we have a total stock of 300,000-400,000 bamboo plants. And about 10 varieties, I think, something like that. So what we can offer are the quality plants and the price of the plants, because we have to reverse the whole thing. We also offer an offtake agreement for 20 years. So if you grow bamboo, then you are sure that there is offtake. Secondly, we fix the carbon removal certificates on the plot, because that's an important element for the financing, and give all the advice, of course. So we are not planting alone, we are planting all together, and that is the way where we should go on. Then the processing part, the same story. It's actually a problem for a few years, but if you don't start now, you will not be ready. So Little by little, we are starting with the processing. And the important thing is here, and I will come back on that, you have to start processing and doing R&D on European-sized bamboo. It doesn't make sense to do all the tests on bamboo like this if we never will have bamboos in Europe with a diameter of 16 centimeters. So what we are doing is doing the primary processing, because, for example, those chips are a base product for a lot of applications. By that, we already delivered 2 test batches, small volumes for certain products, where we are partnering with market players, and that's how step by step we are learning also and processing on European bamboo and entering the market. A recent move that we did a few months ago, we took over Bamboo Import Europe, which could sound a bit strange because we are a European bamboo story. Why would you take over the largest bamboo importer in Europe? In business terms, they call that forward integration. So we already it's not ours, we already entered the market by that, and little by little we are adding the European bamboo. We discussed about that, because what's the thing? Again, we can, even if we grow large volumes of bamboo, we can wait for 10 years and wait and look and see what will happen. What will happen, you can all imagine, if we do nothing, there are others who will take the market. So what we do is already preparing the market, knowing with European bamboo, little by little we are implementing the European bamboo in bamboo import structure. But the strong thing is, and also towards our farmers, by that immediately we have a network in 10 countries, 14 sales points, by which we can distribute also the European bamboo in the future. And then the last one is also a recent one. You can already check the website, but at this moment you can't buy the certificates here already. You can send us an email. So what we are doing for all the farmers, we are fixing the carbon removal certificates, which they get a few months after planting, and then they can already be sold to the market in offtake agreements, and it works. That's the good thing. If you look at the website, for example, the upper right one here, that's a Dutch farmer, the first one who is sold out. He had like 660 carbon removal certificates. They are sold for €100 per ton. And his credits were sold in 8 months, to give you an idea. What is our philosophy? There's a split on the revenue. There's also a part for us. Why? Because we do the whole thing. We do the application. The next 20 years, every 3 years, we have to do the follow-up measurements. And also we use a part for the whole R&D piece. But our philosophy is, if we sell the credits successfully, 100% for the farmer, his investment in the plants is paid back. That's about the philosophy. We're also working more and more together with brokers and resellers to distribute the credits or certificates. That's Europe likes us to use the word certificates, not credits anymore, but actually it's the same. It's just about what Europe is doing with the carbon removal framework, is giving a framework, giving some regulations to avoid greenwashing. And that's why they want to avoid the word credits, because in the meanwhile, the word credits is already a dirty word. So that's how it goes. Eventually, brokers and resellers have to sell those certificates. Our business is bamboo, but we are like what we do with everything. If nobody else does it, then we start it ourselves, and then the rest will follow, I hope. Okay, that was a bit a view where we are now. If we look at the bamboo world, then we have 3 continents who are in the play. We have Latin America. Latin America is mainly based on guadua, also bambusa, asper. And the thing is, a guadua pole is a guadua pole. You will never replace it by something else. It has its own specific characteristics. And that's a nice thing, that's a good thing, because, for example, if you look at Africa, upcoming bamboo continent, a lot of potential, a lot of difficulties still, traditionally. What do I mean by that? For example, if you have to transport a container of bamboo from Uganda to Europe, because it seems logic. If we want to avoid long transportation, Europe is near to Africa, that's a logic connection. But one container from Uganda to the Netherlands is $5,000. So why? Because first of all, the cost to transport inside Uganda, that's actually the biggest part of that $5,000. So there are still some difficulties. But on the other hand, what does Africa have? The most arable land of all continents. That's one thing. Again, specific types of bamboo, and you have to be careful with types of bamboo. For example, the vulgaris, you have that in India, you have that in Africa. Two completely different types of wood. The African vulgaris is of super hard top quality. The vulgaris in Indonesia, in India has other goals, but doesn't have that quality wood. So again, each continent has advantages, disadvantages, and then we have the yellow one, Asia. Yeah, that's the continent of origin. At this moment, they have the market. And actually, we're always repeating it, that's history. It's not Asia, it's China. China has the market, it's not Asia. That's a big difference. And then we have Europe, the special one. We have no bamboo. No bamboo is not completely correct. I think we have about 2,000 hectares now in Europe, but that's nothing. Eh? But what do we have? We have a few things. And the most important thing is we have the market. We have the market. After China, the largest bamboo region is Europe. Sounds strange maybe, but it is like that. If you look to the figures, the largest importer is Europe of bamboo products. And now the surprising one, the people who already saw me know the next one. That's the surprising one. The largest exporters of bamboo products after China is Europe. We can, statistics, I know, I studied also a lot of statistics, you can prove everything with it, but at least you can say we are in the play. One or another way, Europe is a bamboo continent. So if you know that, then you are like, okay, we should do something with that. What else do we have in Europe? That's like, you know, I just want to prove. Nowadays, when I talk with people in Europe, I say, I don't know you. I wasn't at your house, but I know there's something in bamboo in your house. And then they say, yeah, that's true. By that, I mean, the market already accepted bamboo in Europe. It's no way back. That's also a nice one. Those are a grasp out of the real demands that we have. So parties or buyers, companies that are looking for European bamboo and that are willing to pay a premium price because it's local. If you altogether we have here like more than 100,000 tons of demand per year. We don't have that in Europe, but we have the market again. Another thing that we have in Europe is a lot of problems. We are specialists in problems. One super big problem is the climate problem. We have the worst climate situation in the world. Another very, very big problem, maybe for people not from Europe a bit unknown. On biodiversity, you can imagine something that we have a worse biodiversity in Europe. But what we also have in Europe, officially, more than 60% of all soils in Europe are in unhealthy state. More than 60%. And the thing is, at this moment, the most fertile agricultural land in Europe is in Ukraine. So we are not in a very good situation at this moment. But if you look deeper into that problem, you see also that agriculture is a big influence, has a big negative impact on soils, on biodiversity, and so on. So that's a fact. Third speciality in Europe, protesting farmers. But they are right, because They are just in between regulations that they don't follow or cannot influence on the one hand. They are in between an industry, mainly a food industry, that pushes down prices and says, yeah, but you have invested in those potatoes. Now you have to sell them to me, otherwise you go broke. They were the enemy of the climate. Now, once a sudden, they are the friends. They have to be friends of climate. So that's very, very difficult for them. So that's another thing that plays in Europe and also for governments is a problem. It's not that governments say, okay, farmers, because we need farmers. One of the problems, another typical European problem with production and with food, we exported everything. So the competition for European farmers out of Europe is huge. So one of the points of discussion or that we have to think about is maybe, I don't, if you let me speak and I say bamboo is a solution, but I want to be moderate and give everybody the space to think. So could bamboo maybe be an answer on those problems that we saw? I think yes. Could be me, but I think maybe we could do something with bamboo. So if you go over it, I think that's a slide with the most text. I didn't have, I felt like making a lot of text, but what do we have again to summarize with bamboo? We have an alternative for the farmers. The nice thing is bamboo, growing bamboo in Europe is most expensive continent to grow bamboo. It is like that. The land is very expensive. Making plants, producing plants is expensive. So that's one thing. So farmers have to invest a lot. But the nice thing with bamboo is, and if there are investors, you have to hear very good to this one. You invest once, but if you manage your field good, you can harvest up to 70, 80, 90 years. So you can write off your investment on maybe 100 years. So that's again an interesting one. But on the other hand, if you invest in something for the next generations, let's say, today I even don't know where we're going to be with Europe and the world in 5 years. So how do I have to know in my business plan what will be the market in 50 years? And there again, we have the very versatile bamboo who can serve almost every market. So that gives farmers also the flexibility to choose their sectors, to choose products. If there's a trend for a new product, they can go along. So they are not tied up to one sector, and that's a good thing, of course. Secondly, the green hand, the nature organizations. Why should we embrace bamboo? Of course, we are not going to plant bamboo in nature in Europe. It's an agricultural crop. But in terms of an agricultural crop, it's one of the most biodiverse. If I look to a maize field or I look to a bamboo field, I don't have to explain anything, you see the difference. It's also, of course, the way you manage your bamboo fields. But if you know we have a crop in Europe, we don't use pesticides in Europe and bamboo. There's no need to use pesticides. There's no clear cutting, no tillage, and it's a very water efficient plant. You also, if you use nutrients, but if you use fertilizer, it's very little. If you use fertilizer, you talk about 25 kilos per hectare. That's 40 grams per plant. If we plant, then we have 625 plants per hectare. So for one hand, fertilizer, that's it. So, or nothing, or organic fertilizer. The orange one, my second public of today is the government. So why should the government embrace bamboo? It's just economic development. That's one thing. In all senses, it's not only job creation at farms. You have other sectors who are bringing products to the farms. You have new, from high-tech to handcraft businesses that will rise up. But the main issue today should be, I think, for governments, supply security. If we believe that bamboo is something in Europe, and there's no other way, because the market says we love bamboo. So, but if we work on bamboo, then of course it's important if you build an industry, if you have a factory, you need supply security. You can't run your factory and on a certain moment have no product. Supply security with an import in which you are almost 100% dependent on China at this moment. I don't say it has to be bad, but if you build an industry and you want to be dependent 100% in that way, maybe not a good idea. And then also an important one for Europe, climate goals. Bamboo is such a powerful tool in the whole climate story, actually. And the thing is, Europe is literally saying that they want this. If you look at the carbon removal and carbon farming regulation, then they say we want carbon removal. We prefer, in Europe, we prefer nature-based carbon removal. And if it's possible, through farming. So actually, they are already giving the answer. So bamboo can be a part of the problem there also. So that's summarized, but there you have the most arguments. Of course, it's not an easy story. Nothing is easy. It's not the most difficult story in agriculture, in my opinion, but it's not easy also. So like I said, what are the challenges for Europe? The cost of harvesting, cost of production, cost of everything, cost of taxes, But still, you have a crop. If you make a comparison with other crops, you will see that the net gain, the net revenue, even in Europe with the bamboo farm, is very good. Knowledge, experience, awareness, but that's everywhere. There is a lot of experience. We always have the feeling that the half of the knowledge stays in Asia and the other half we get a few years later. But that apart, again, we are in the European situation, so we should redo everything, re-investigate, do new research, because everything is different. The specific types of bamboo, and then I come again to the beginning of the story. Also in Europe, you have types of bamboo that grow better, but above all, a general rule will be we will always have smaller dimensions, less volume than in other continents. In Taiwan, they use the origami, for example, for shoots. They have 12 tons harvest of shoots per hectare, 12 tons. In Europe, if we have 2 tons, we should already be very, very happy. So it's another situation. Is that a problem? No, because actually our competitors are not the other continents in bamboo. In Europe, our competitors or benchmark are the other fiber crops.